Here's a great question. What is the urge that calls me beyond the familiar into unexplored territory? What is smoldering inside of me? Where is my passion? Those questions get me every time. Donna Markova mentioned them in her book, I Will Not Live an Unlived Life. Where is my passion? What is, the word smoldering is a good word. Passions are the things that move you, things that are visceral, that you feel deeply. And this is important because I want to remind you that the second mountain is about expressing passion through contribution, while the first mountain is about acquisition. So when you're climbing the first mountain, you're getting, building onto your own life. The second mountain is moving in your passions to contribute to others. In other words, the first mountain is about self, whereas the second mountain is about others. So when you look at the world, when you look at individuals, what is it you see? What bothers you? What concerns you? I'm going to ask you a series of diagnostic questions, and you can see these in your workbook, and eventually I want you to try to answer these questions. What is it that breaks your heart? What in this broken world makes you angry? When you see something not right, what is it that you wish you could fix? And here's another way to ask it. What experiences have you had meeting people's needs that have motivated you? For instance, maybe you've done something, you served in some sort of outreach, or you did some fundraiser, and it really hits you deeply. Can you think of an experience that you say, man, that was important, that was good? What was that? Or here's another question. What have you always wanted to do but never felt you had the permission to do because you were supposed to be or do something else? Now, here's what I mean by that. When we grow up, sometimes, I'm going to go be this because my dad tells me I should do this, or my friends told me, or my culture tells me. Is there something that has always been, you've been passionate about your whole life that actually has something to do with helping people that you've never felt like you could invest in because it didn't make money or something? What is your passion? And then finally, which of the 6 broken places of the world, which I introduced at the beginning, most moves you? Do the issues of injustice bother you? Is the loneliness and isolation of a person, does that bother you? Or how about hatred and racism? Does pain bother you? How about decay of the planet? Are you upset by the condition of our world? Or is it the alienation of people from God or from norms? Does that bother you? Are these the passions of your life that you wish they could be fixed? I'll give you a couple stories. I keep talking about these NFL football players, but one of them, Hunter Smith, he played for the Indianapolis Colts. He was the punter. He grew up on a farm, and he had a deep passion for farm life and for living in the country and rural. He also is deeply, deeply passionate about families. They have a big family, wonderful kids, wonderful wife. And he put those two together, and he realized when he looked around at families in central Indiana and beyond, he wanted all families to be able to set aside their cell phones and their electronics, be a family on the farm, and enjoy country life. And so he created on his own farm, farm days, where families show up on Saturdays during good weather, and they hang out and enjoy food and get to play with the animals. And that's coming from his passion. And it's affecting people and their children. It's a beautiful thing. Another friend of mine, Kathy. Kathy was in international, she was in HR for a Fortune 500 company. She had developed a passion. She started interacting with internationals, people from other countries, especially young ladies from other countries who felt somewhat alienated. They didn't know what they believed, and they felt confused in life. And so she came alongside them. And Kathy has mentored dozens and dozens of these women, establishing their faith and establishing who they are in life. And then there's Gerald, a good friend of mine. I love Gerald. Gerald was in pharmaceutical sales for a long time. But he had this abiding passion for older people, for seniors, because his life story was that Gerald grew up. His parents, his parents were gone. They had passed away, and his grandmother and grandfather raised him. So his grandmother and grandfather became his parents, and his great-grandmother and great-grandfather became his grandparents. So in other words, he was surrounded by seniors, and he developed a heart and passion for seniors, so much so that he decided to leave the pharmaceutical sales field and enter into the skilled nursing facility business, and he wanted to be a director of one of these, of a center for seniors. And he had to go what he had to go through to restart his whole career because he was passionate about seniors. And this man doesn't just run one of these homes, he also sits down with them and loves people and leads a Bible study with them, and he just loves seniors. So these were my friends' passions. What are your passions? Go back to those questions about what breaks your heart and all those things, and answer those questions. And then once you're done answering those questions, then you can transfer them as individual patches on your squares on your calling quilt. And we'll be back in a minute.